You are listening to the Girl Talk podcast. My name is Carol.
This is Alicia.
I'm Trisha.
And we are so glad that you've joined us today because it's Christmas party day! We thought, hey, why not sit around and drink cocoa?
I got water.
And
Some
you got
water.
Well, I got
nice
nothing.
Ice cold.
I forgot mine upstairs.
Here, you can
Anyway,
have a sip.
I am dreaming that I'm having Russian tea right now.
Oh, yes.
That smell wafting up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I love some
Smell it.
Russian
I smell it.
Do you? Yeah. Okay. Well, so I thought we would just have a little fun today talking about the last year. And, the thing that prompted this was, you know how all the magazines tend to want to do the year in pictures. And so you go back and you look at all the pictures from the year and they're all bad pictures. It's like, I'm so depressed now. But and now on Facebook they've kind of caught on, so they give you the year in review,
the memories,
yeah, Christmas memories. Anyway, I just thought it would be fun, kind of just to look back on this year and talk about things that we've learned and maybe things that we haven't learned that we continue to not learn.
Those.
That's right. Yeah. So who wants to go first? What do you think you've learned this year?
It's challenging, isn't it?
I know.
It is hard to think about the whole year. You know, we've learned patience.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Lots and lots of patience.
I've learned not to pray for patience.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
What do you mean by what do you
I
mean by that?
Because I mean that if you pray for patience, God is going to give you opportunities to exercise patience. So I do not need to pray for patience because I do not need any more opportunities to exercise it. But seriously, with a middle schooler,
Oh, yes. How are you learning patience? I need to take notes. Go ahead.
Well, I think just when things come up, like in our house, I think we've just learned to be patient with each other.
That's good.
And, as kids get older and they're in different stages and sometimes we don't understand each other. And so we've had to just kind of take a step back and have empathy and be patient for things to work out and for God to kind of come in and say, this is going to be okay and this is going to work out, because sometimes hard situations take time and they can't be resolved overnight.
It's not the 30-minute sitcom where, you have a struggle and then in 30 minutes it's all over.
It's hard. It gets hard. And so for us, I mean, patience it's worked. Knowing that things can't get resolved overnight. And then when they get better and you can look back and reflect, and then you realize, okay, God had a plan and it's working out and it's okay.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned that because I think so few of us take time to reflect back. I think that's the problem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you don't ever sit down and go, now, why did this work? I love what you're doing with your kids, making them have conversations at the dinner table.
Oh, I know.
That is
conversation practice.
We did it last night with my
impressive.
mom and dad.
Yeah, it is impressive.
It was awkward, but it's making some headway. And I was really gratified. You never get over wanting to please your mom.
Oh, yeah.
And my mom said to me, Trisha, I think that is a really good idea. Keep that up. And I was really happy to hear that because that made me feel good.
So, tell us what is it that you do? What do you have them do?
Okay, conversation practice. It's not a long thing because I know that they would really not like it if it was. So I'm trying to make it kind of user-friendly. So I say it's somewhere between 3 to 5 minutes. And what we're going to do is we're going to sit around. It's kind of after we've eaten most of our meal. And I have one of the boys ask a question of somebody else, somebody else in our family, ask a question maybe about their day, about how they're feeling, or about something that they accomplished today. Anything. I want to give them free rein to come up with their own questions. So, ask somebody something maybe about their day. And then they listen to the answer, and then the idea is, and this is the second part of it, is they have to come up with a follow-up question.
Oh, wow.
And the follow-up question is based on what the response was.
Yeah.
And
so they have to listen and pay attention.
That's right. That's right. Yes. Yeah. And they can't just ask them and then start to look down at their fingernails and think about dessert and whatnot. They have to come up with that. And
that's great.
It's working, and it's actually good for me because I realize we skip around with conversations. We never fully give the other person a chance to respond and go back and forth. And so it's actually been good for me as well. But it was really a win last night.
similar to that, but not quite as structured. This year, we have been training ourselves to not interrupt one another. We have a family of 4, and I swear we can never get a word out sometimes, but we've allowed the kids to express, excuse me, but you're interrupting me.
Mm-hmm.
And as a parent, I do it a lot, and I didn't realize it because you think you already know what they're going to say, or, sometimes they can get long-winded. And I'm like, I don't need to hear the whole explanation. But then once I was kind of called out on, you just interrupted me. And we're like, okay. So, and we all have realized that we've done it, and we can call them out now. And it's easier to kind of call them out because they know what we're doing. And it's really helped our conversations at dinner time, especially. We'll all be just, talking. And now we're talking more and listening before the next part comes up.
I read something about that. That not only is good people skills, but it actually will have an impact on the person's self-esteem when they're not being interrupted constantly.
Interesting, yeah.
They have more self-esteem. What I say is important, and people listen to me. And I read that one time, and it really hit me because I do interrupt my kids from time to time to get to the next thing. I got to tell you about cleaning your room. You got to shower tonight. And so I'm already moving into that lane.
Our brains are already a mile ahead.
That's right.
And we're trying to get them to do something and working on the next thing. And they're still processing.
And that affects them. So that's a wonderful thing.
Great.
I love it.
Another reason my kid's going to be in counseling.
They have to go after mine.
Well, I tell you what, y'all know I've got a great big personality, and I just get so excited, and I'm like, oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I just do it. I do that a lot. I'm sorry. I'm like going back now, listening to the podcast we've done before, going, man, I'm so rude.
No, you're hilarious is what you are.
But okay, so we've heard relational things. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just thinking about a relational thing too that I've learned that was problematic actually.
Yeah.
This year I have had more issues with my husband than I've ever had. We've been married for 13 years. We have a very strong marriage. He's very respectful of me. I try my best to be respectful of him, not always succeeding, but we're actively working on our relationship always. So it's been pretty easy. But this year we had a harder year. And I think it's because he worked more, was away from home more, and then there were like little things that would build up into bigger things and little resentments and little frustrations. And if he wasn't home, I'm thinking, I bet he could have gotten home 30 minutes earlier or something like that. And he would come home and I wouldn't be grateful to see him necessarily, but I'm like, you need to go empty the dishwasher.
Right, here's your list.
Or whatever. That's right. And so we have had to find grace with one another this year in a different way. It's not that there were any like major things, but it was the little things that were adding up. And as you asked me to reflect on this year, and I rarely take time to reflect, I'm remembering that. And I'm remembering that we have had to make time to have discussions, to figure out strategies moving forward. We've had to just plain old have grace and forgive each other when we feel like the other person maybe could have acted in a different way. And so this has been a year of working on grace with my husband.
I think that's great to admit that, because I feel like people always say, I have the most amazing husband and I have the most amazing family. And we see all these family pictures that are perfect, and they're not perfect. Families aren't perfect. Marriages aren't perfect. And they take work. They take a lot of work.
Yeah, and I appreciate your vulnerability in that, because that is exactly, as a single person, what I feel at Christmas time. Because you see all the Christmas cards with the husband, the wife, and the kids, and the dog, and the cat didn't care to be in the picture. So, but you see the white picket fence around the nice house, and all those things. And for me, I used to hate going to Christmas Eve service because everybody's there with their
That's what you're
family.
gonna say,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Christmas became like a really hard time for me because that is all I saw, and I thought, we're so much different. It's just me and my daughter, and with it had become such a hard thing for me. So for you to be vulnerable and say that is really powerful. So thank you for being honest with that. And I think this has become a place where we are honest and we're vulnerable, and so I just love that about you, Tricia, that you're willing to open up your heart. And
Thank you.
This year for me, obviously, I don't want to. I feel like I talk about this a lot, but maybe I need to. I don't know. But my dad passed this year, and so it's just been so different.
That's huge, Carol.
Yeah, and I never realized how I always thought grief was something you managed. I always thought that grief was something you managed. And I'm realizing that grief is not something to manage. It is something to, it's not controllable. I mean, it's the weirdest things will get to me. This is like totally an awful memory, but it reminds me of my dad. So yesterday I went into the drugstore to pick up some prescriptions, and I was on my way out, and there was a man outside smoking. Okay, outside the drugstore, which I don't really understand, but anyway, but he was smoking, and I walked through, kind of, and my dad smoked when I was little, and like all of a sudden I was like 6 years old,
Right.
and we were riding in his truck, and he was lighting up, and that's a bad habit. And if you're a kid, and you're listening to this, don't ever smoke; it's bad for you. And my daddy would tell you that now, but back then it wasn't
Right.
as big a deal. But just that little thing just took me back to a place where I just felt. And I've been blessed with a couple of friends who have gone before me in this journey and have just provided so many powerful things. I was going to read to you guys. I shared this on my show, but a gal named Shara Donahue wrote this, and she said, "Grief tends to be a surprise guest during the holidays.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It can spring up in the form of a breathless gasp, an unforeseen rush of tears, or a whisper of undefined melancholy in the midst of celebration. But it does not show up to torture. It reveals itself because we've lost someone worth grieving." And I thought that was so powerful,
Yes.
and really how I'm feeling this Christmas. If I didn't have a kid, I wouldn't have put up a tree.
Right.
This year is just so incredibly different. And the funny part is that my dad's probably in heaven just cracking up because he wasn't a shopper. We would open gifts on Christmas morning, and he would say, "Let me see what I got you." He just wasn't. I mean, he was a real jovial guy, and we always had so much fun. And so he wasn't even really about Christmas, but it's just so different. I don't even really know if I have words for it yet, but I've realized this last year that you can't manage grief. You can't. You can prepare for it best you can, and you can think you're ready. Like right now, I shouldn't be crying during a podcast, but
Of course.
But it is so. It's just so different, and being a single gal, anytime my car makes a sound or my sink gets stopped up, what was the first thing I would do?
Call
Daddy.
Daddy.
Yeah.
And so it is just this time of year is just completely profound, I think, because there's so many memories tied up in it. Christmas is such a memory type thing. So I'm going to stop talking now because I'm about to blubber.
I appreciate you. This is true. How can you not experience that? Even talking about it, absolutely. I hope this is comforting. You have been on my mind. I have made extra attempts to call my parents.
Yeah,
tell them I love them. I hugged my dad last night twice as long and twice as hard. Because I have seen you walk this path and you've walked it bravely.
Thank you.
But it has made me go the extra mile to spend time with my parents and appreciate them because they're here. My dad's not 100% well.
Yeah.
But I am just grateful that I can see him, and I hope that is encouraging and not discouraging. But
no, it is, and I think it brings up another point is that I did not know that last Christmas was my last Christmas with Dad.
Right.
And so you never know. I think that's one of the things that's so powerful about faith is that we don't know what's going to come, this year or next year or 5 years down the road from now, as much as we would like to. We just don't know. And that is why this community is so precious and so valuable, because we need each other. I mean, one of the greatest gifts this past year for me has been this Girl Talk podcast, because I feel like the three of us have gotten closer and we've shared things that we wouldn't have ordinarily in a work environment. And the fact that I know that when I'm in a tight spot, when I'm in a tough place, I can text either one of you and just say, can you just pray? Because I'm just having a hard time today. Or, you text me at just the right time with something funny, or a text or a picture or something. And I think that is what we want for you, the listener.
Yes.
We want you to feel a part of this community and know that you're loved and you're supported and you're prayed for. This is not just us talking at you. It's us talking with you. And so anytime you'd like to get in touch, I think we have don't we have a Girl Talk email now?
Yes, we do. girltalk@thelightfm.org.
Okay, so that's girltalk@thelightfm.org. We'd love to hear about what you've learned this year. And we'd like to celebrate that with you.
Yes.
And we look forward to another year of Girl Talk podcast. And we even have some exciting things in 2019 that we're planning for that we can't tell you about yet, because they're not fully planned.
I know,
And
I can't believe it.
The fully planning people will not let us tell you until everything is in place. But we've got some opportunities maybe in 2019 to maybe see you in person and to talk to you. And so we're really excited about that. But we'd love to hear back from you. Once again, the email, girltalk@thelightfm.org. And hey, we'll see you here next time. No, we love you here at the Girl Talk Podcast.